All right, good afternoon to those of you on the East Coast. Good morning to those of you on the West Coast. Welcome to This Week in Pop Culture, the show in which we give you the goings on in the past said week in the world of pop culture. I'm your host, Brandon Troy, also co creator of Movies and Shakers Unlimited. And this is a show in which we give you the rundown of the past said week. As I just mentioned, whether we're talking about local news, film and TV news, sports news, tech news, and the like, we try to bring you up to speed so that way you are not left in the wind. As always, I'm not going to be alone in talking about the said topics this week. So without further ado, I want to see if I can get my co-host on. Okay, it looks like he'll be joining us in a moment. And let's see here. Spills, what is going on, man?
What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? I am remote this week. We are not at Awesome Con, unfortunately, but I was able to check these things out by proxy through the internet. So, ready to take on these
Fair
topics.
enough. Fair enough. But Spills, there were quite a few things that happened this past said week, and I apologize, guys, for our late start. I know Spills was saying that he's virtual, but I am in fact on the grounds here at Awesome Con, doing the do. But as I said, Spills, there were a lot of things that happened this past said week. We're going to wrap up the show, of course, for those of you that see the title there and giving a recap of Awesome Con since I am here. But the other things that I wanted to dive into, Spills, I mean, quite a few things. I mean, we had some film and TV news, little small film and TV news or something that's going down later on today, as well as some sports news, a birthday, which we don't do that much here at Movers and Shakers Unlimited.
Surprising why we're doing this birthday, ladies and gentlemen, but I'm not going to get in that. I'm not going to get in that. That's not, I don't know.
And also some streaming news. So without further ado, man, shall we dive in?
Let's get it.
All right, awesome, awesome. So we're going to, well, first, let me start first by saying, just as a reminder to those of you that are joining us, whether you're joining us live right now or if you join us later, efforts will be made to timestamp the stories that we have this week accordingly, so that way you can skip forward or go backwards to your heart's content. Um, so just keep that in mind. But with that, we're going to start this week's show getting into some film and TV talk. So let me bring that up for you guys now. And in talking about that said story, as I, jokingly said just moments ago, we do have a small, little event that's happening a little later today. Of course, that being the Oscars, and getting into the details of today's story. This was a story that dropped on Monday. It was reported by Variety that security is on heightened alert after the FBI warned California law enforcement about the possibility of a retaliatory drone attack by Iran targeting the West Coast. According to Variety sources, at the red carpet rollout, security has been increased but is not overtly visible. The ceremony, of course, hosted by Conan O'Brien later on this evening, will air on ABC and stream on Hulu on uh, March 15th. Of course, today at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, with the official red carpet show beginning at 6:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 3:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. With that, Spills, your thoughts on the increased security for Hollywood's biggest night?
Sometimes we be saying we need security, but sometimes we just need to be quiet or not do the things that we do. But that's not what this show is about, ladies and gentlemen. Um, obviously it's pretty scary for the participants and the harbingers of our culture, as it were, because the Oscars are ultimately, movies are one of our biggest cultural exports. It's what really makes America America. We got good movies. People be liking our movies. So for us to not be able to just enjoy the show and to have increased security is kind of sad. But what are we going to do? Um, we're doing things that we probably shouldn't be doing, but that's not what we're here for. Um, I just think it's a good idea to increase the security, but I don't think anything's going to happen. Los Angeles is a very far way away from the place that is threatening us, and I don't think that they have those kind of capabilities. But you never know. That's what we were saying in 2001 and other times. In 311 in the UK and all kind of other spots like that. But it's just really sad at times. If I could tell you, Brandon, I'd be telling you need to get a car, but you don't need to get no car with the way the things are right now. Gas done going up $1 in 2 weeks, brother. 2 weeks it was $2.99 2 weeks ago. It's $4 now. Terrible.
Realizing I'm muted. There we go. Not muted now, but I'll just say this and try to keep it short and sweet. This is day and age, unfortunately, that we live in under the circumstances of what's been going on out in the world, and it is what it is. It's just the day and times that we live in. I know we don't talk a whole bunch of politics here on Movers and Shakers, but man, like we gotta do better, y'all. I mean, that's the most that I can, say with, in terms of just keeping things just, general. But as I said, it's just the times that we live in. But getting into some lighter news, I know that there are some films here that you have seen, Spills, and there's some that I've seen most of the nominees that are listed, but I thought it'd be fun to get into at least some of those categories for films that we have in fact seen. I know I'm going to catch up on a couple of the shorts, and I believe maybe one or two other films before it's all said and done. And I think I should have some time to do that before the show airs later on tonight. But in the meantime, I wanted to bring up the list, so give me a moment.
Oh yeah, for sure.
I
I
will
actually
share it.
this year I've been pretty strong with my Oscar watching.
Okay.
Somehow I went to all the Oscar buzz films. It feels like I feel like I've seen everything that I needed to see. So I think I'm very prepared this year, ladies and gentlemen.
All right. Excellent. So let me see if I can get that up for us. Here we go. All right. So in looking at what we have here on, let me see. I realize I haven't pressed the screen to share. That would probably be ideal. Here we go. So starting at the top, and what we have here with, I believe it's a leading actor. So actor in a leading role. We have Timothy Chalamet, of course, for Marty Supreme, Leonardo DiCaprio for One Battle After Another, Ethan Hawke for Blue Moon, Michael B. Jordan for Sinners, and Wagner Moura for The Secret Agent. So, among these, your thoughts on who you see taking the Oscar in this category?
Where's Wallace String? It's got to be Michael B. Jordan. I really loved Marty Supreme. I've been singing his praises, but with what has happened since those movies have come out,
Yeah.
I just felt like
He killed his
Timothy
own
shot
campaign.
himself in the foot. He was
Put his
talking too much.
foot in his mouth. Yeah.
He was talking that cash about rich people, poor people, and he forgot that rich people are voting for this. Come on.
And we got a cameo
Voting
there.
for
What's
this.
up,
Yeah, we
man?
got a cameo of my son, ladies and gentlemen. We forgot that we were voting. The rich people are the ones that vote for best actor. So I think that on top of the fact that Sinners is a once in a lifetime movie spectacle. I think that the fact that Michael B. Jordan plays two characters and it's a reflection of life. I think that those are all things that will make it be Michael B. Jordan. What do you got?
Well, I guess I'll say probably what I'm going to do with each of these categories. I'm going to have the person that I feel should win, and then also the person who likely will win. So with that in mind, and I know it's kind of feels like I'm going 50-50, but I mean, in some of these categories, it is a tight race. And I feel like under any other circumstances, this would have been Chalamet's category to win. But just as you said, based on recent events and getting comments that were made, I think that opportunity and that momentum has basically been broken, where it's now, I feel like now it is Michael B. Jordan's award to win. As I said, under any other circumstances, I would say that Chalamet would win this category, but I believe that Michael B. Jordan, don't get me wrong, Michael B. Jordan was terrific in this role. Just as you were saying, Timothy Chalamet was also incredible, respectably, in his role as well. And I feel like it would have been neck and neck, but just based on the circumstances and the momentum critically that we've seen across other award shows, I feel like Michael B. Jordan is going to be the actor who walks away with the Oscar for actor in the leading role. Now, getting into actor in a supporting role, let me see if I can bring this back up for us. We have Benicio del Toro in One Battle After Another, Jacob Elordi in Frankenstein, Delroy Lindo, of course, in Sinners, Sean Penn, One Battle After Another, and Stellan Skarsgård in Sentimental Value. Your thoughts on who's going to walk away with the Oscar here?
My heart wants Delroy to win because of the way he drank that beer when they were sitting in that train station. Because that's how I be drinking my beers when I be sitting in train stations.
Fair enough. Yeah.
And I think that because both Benicio del Toro and Sean Penn have nods in this, they may cancel each other out. But I really think that Sean Penn, Benicio del Toro, I feel like was a better supporting actor. I don't feel like Sean Penn was a supporting actor in One Battle After Another. But he was so strong in that movie, like you almost forget that it's Sean Penn. It seems like he's um, channeling a different kind of energy.
Yeah.
So I would say Sean Penn probably. I think that the Frankenstein. I did not see Frankenstein. I did not see Sentimental Value. So I'm sure that those are fine movies, but I don't think that those are going to have buzz like this. Unless Jacob is an amazing Igor, which I doubt he is. He might be Dr. Frankenstein in this movie.
No, he's
Um,
Frankenstein.
so he's Frankenstein. I don't
He's
understand how you
Frankenstein's
could be
monster. Yeah, he's
supporting.
Frankenstein's
So I
monster.
don't think he's going to win off of that because actor in a supporting role, he's the title character. How are you supporting in the title character? But that's a
I
different kind of
mean,
thing.
so I'll say
So if
this.
Frankenstein is the doctor, is he the doctor? Is Frankenstein the doctor, ladies
No,
and
he's the
gentlemen?
monster. He's
No,
Frankenstein's
I'm
monster.
saying is Frankenstein because Frankenstein is actually the name of the doctor. It's
Right.
Frankenstein's apostrophe S monster, and the monster is the one that we all call Frankenstein, but it's not actually Frankenstein. So they're going to play with that, but the monster is the monster. He's the story. How is he in this category, ladies and gentlemen?
So I can speak on that. I did see
Okay.
Frankenstein. But I'm gonna do something weird here. All the other ones, as I said, more than likely I'll have who will win, or who I would like to win, but who will win. And in this one, I feel like there's going to be an additional. I have some additional thoughts here of a dark horse outside of those two. So um, I feel like Jacob was terrific as Frankenstein, because a lot of what that character, what is needed for that character, and he was able to embody that, is to still emote and to still uh, um, demonstrate what's going on in the character's mind without a lot of dialogue. And that's not an easy thing to do from an acting perspective. A lot of times people like to just rely on dialogue. And when you take that away, it really demonstrates to you actors' capabilities if they're still able to provide a story and to tell a story about a said character without having to say a whole lot, and they can just do it maybe with a gesture, with an expression that they have, with a movement that they have, and he was able to embody that in this said film um, from Guillermo del Toro, who filmmaker that I'm a big fan of. But yeah, he was terrific in that role. I feel like he would get the Oscar. However, considering the momentum that Sinners has had, and
And the
Lindo,
BAFTAs, and the BAFTAs. Don't remember
that's what I'm
that. Don't
saying.
forget that BAFTA
Considering the
thing is
momentum,
going to
I'm
be
just saying
huge.
critically,
Yeah.
considering the momentum this award season that Sinners has had, I feel like they're also going to sweep in this category too, because Delroy Lindo was equally awesome in that role. I did have a chance to see Sentimental Value too, and that I would say that's my dark horse, because I'm a big fan of Stellan Skarsgård. I feel like he's a very underrated actor in terms of him getting his due, and it would be awesome to see him get an Oscar for that said role. And just as a character actor, he plays the body of work that he has had thus far over his career is incredible, and it would be terrific to be able to see him take home an Oscar, because I don't feel like he would be the person to win. I feel like he is the dark horse, but as I said, considering the momentum of Sinners and this award season, I have Delroy Lindo winning, even though under any other circumstances, I see Jacob Elordi winning. Now, getting into actress in a leading role, we have Jessia Buckley in Hamnet, Rose Byrne in If I Had Legs, I'd Kick You, Kate Hudson in Song Sung Blue, Renee, and I apologize if I'm butchering your name, but Rainsby in Sentimental Value, and then Emma Stone in Begonia. So if we're talking about those said films, from these, as I said, I've seen Sentimental Value, I've seen Hamnet, and I've seen Begonia and Song Sung Blue. In this category, Spills, were there any of these films? If you've seen, if not, then I can just hop into my thoughts on the category.
I actually have not seen any of these films. I thought I was
Okay.
prepared, but I was more prepared for the Best Picture of the Year, and these are not
Okay,
those
no worries,
nominees. So
no
yeah.
worries. Well, in thinking of that, then of the films that I've seen, I feel like this is a tight race in terms of those said actresses that I see taking home the Oscar. Whether we're talking about Kate Hudson, whether we're talking about um, Rose Byrne, or Emma Stone, out of those three, I feel like it's among those three in terms of potential winners that we have in this category. Um, I know, based off of when I'm thinking of other award shows, I know that there is a tendency and I don't know why that is, but just historically, in terms of trends, uh, a lot of times when we're thinking of shows other than the Oscars, when I'm thinking of like the Golden Globes, they love their musicals. When we're talking about the Oscars, they love their what is it, their period pieces, or the any of those films that are love letters to Hollywood. So you have a lot of those trends that you come across dealing with specific award shows. But in this case, I really do think that it's as I said, it's a tight race. I would say it's anyone's category, whether we're talking about Rose Byrne, Kate Hudson, or Emma Stone, in those said categories. Um, I know Renee was also terrific in that role, but I'm just from what we had there with Kate Hudson, Emma, and Rose. I feel like it's that trio there that either of those have the potential, to win. So I always feel like this is kind of the widest category versus some of the other ones that we're going to come across, where I feel like it's neck and neck between two artists. Now getting into, let's see, actress in a supporting role. We have Elle Fanning in Sentimental Value. We have, and I apologize again if I'm butchering your name, but we have Inga Lilelas for Sentimental Value. We have Amy Madigan for Weapons, Wunmi Masaku for Sinners, and Teyana Taylor for One Battle After Another. So in looking at this category, Spills, I think I already have an idea of which one you would select here, which person you see taking home the award, but I will still hand you the floor anyway, even though I think I have an idea.
All right, ladies and gentlemen. So I think that this is a Tiana Taylor loss to lose, win to lose. I think that she was really magnetic in the One Battle After Another. I feel like she's the whole reason why people even gave that movie buzz. Um, so to me, I think that the answer is Tiana Taylor. I liked her work in it. She seemed very comfortable in the role as a revolutionary. She seemed very believable in a way that I didn't think that she would really have the chops for, given her past as like a musician and star of My Super Sweet 16. We all remember that from back in the day. um she just dropped a pair of J's this weekend. I thought that those J's were pretty interesting, so I think that's going to be Tiana Taylor.
Okay, all right, you surprised me there. Well, in talking about that said category, I guess for me it's a little different. I'm going to say for what we have for uh, best supporting actress, I believe that Amy Madigan would be the person here to win. When we're talking about that role that she played in that said film, I feel like it has been a role that has transcended the film and the genre. Um, so like under most circumstances, I would say that Amy would be the one to take home the Oscar here. But again, considering the overwhelming momentum that we've had on that, and that I feel that we're going to have that night for Sinners, I feel like Wunmi will be the one that takes home the Oscar. She's outstanding in her role in that film as well. It is just that I feel like if we weren't seeing this momentum, and don't get me wrong, like Sinners is an incredible film, and if we did not see the momentum that we've been getting thus far this award season with Sinners in this particular category, I definitely would have seen Amy winning. But as I said, considering the momentum, Wunmi is my pick here in this category. And I know you said Tiana is yours. I can see how you would picture that, because they're prior to the recent trend that we've seen with Sinners, we've seen the same happen with One Battle After Another, and the artists that have been involved in that said film as well. So there you guys have it for Spills. He has Tiana taking home the Oscar for Best Actress in a Supporting Role. And for myself, while I believe, as I said, that Amy would otherwise be the favorite, I feel, to win this award, based on the momentum that we have here, not just among the award show, but just with what we've seen in those said categories across the board, not just among the ensemble, but the individual actors themselves. I feel like Wunmi will be the one to take home the Oscar. Okay, so for animated film, it was a animated short category is the one that we'll skip for now, because that's the one that, as I said, I'm gonna take a look at before we get to the official show later on tonight. But Spills, among the animated films, I would imagine that there may be at least one film that you've seen here. I've seen. There's still one film among this category that I need to see, but otherwise, I've seen all the others.
So I would say that Zootopia is actually on my list for this evening with young Spillman. So we're gonna watch that this evening. So I will check it out. So I think so. I like the cast of Zootopia. Um, one, so I think that would be interesting. I also think I've seen ELO. I think that's a CGI movie as well.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm gonna go Zootopia 2. I
Okay.
think that's what my son likes, so I'll go with his taste on this one.
All right. Well, I know for myself, um, the only one that I have not seen here is Arco, and I do agree with you. Ilio is, an incredible film. Um, I would, I actually see that one taking home the Oscar. However, considering the momentum that we have with K-pop, Demon Hunters, when we're talking about momentum and a lot of stuff that we've seen with
It's a
with
zeitgeist
the
for
award
sure.
season, it has been a zeitgeist with that said film. So um, I believe Demon Hunters is going to win, even though I feel like under any other circumstances, I would have Ilio winning in this category. All right, so as we are moving down the list here, as I said, I'm going to skip animated shorts for now. We're not going to go over every single category. I'm going to try to just do we'll go through, I'll tell you what, through casting, and we'll go through directing and editing, just for the sake of time, because I know there are a couple other stories that we want to dive into. So, getting into casting spills, let me bring this back up for you. We have Hamnet, Nina Gold, being nominated for her work casting for Hamnet. We have Jennifer Venditti for Marty Supreme. We have casting for One Battle After Another with Cassandra, and I apologize if I am butchering your name, but Kalukadins. And then we have The Secret Agent with Gabriel Dominguez, and Sinners with Francine Maisler. So, your thoughts on who we have taking home the Oscar for casting?
Sorry, I was muted, ladies and gentlemen.
Oh, no, you're fine.
I would say Marty Supreme for this one, but I think Sinners, the ensemble was just amazing with this cast. Um, they, just from top to bottom, I think it was a good cast. I think Marty Supreme would have been my second pick. The guy from having I don't know all the actors' names, but having
Well, this is casting, so not
no, that's what I'm
acting.
saying. The
Oh,
having
okay.
the actors cast in the parts that they have.
All right.
Were just incredible. Like having the guy from Shark Tank being the big billionaire that Marty Supreme is trying to court the whole movie. Having Gwyneth Paltrow playing a over the hill actress who's married to a rich tycoon is it was just an interesting pick. And then obviously having Timothy Chalamet. I feel like this may be the one that Marty Supreme wins over Sinners. So I think that Marty Supreme may win this one, just off of the strength of like the cameos, and then they had Tyler the Creator playing a really big role. They just had lots of roles. They even had that guy. Remember that guy a couple of years ago that had that was homeless and had the really beautiful voice, the radio voice. He's in
Oh
that
yes,
movie.
yeah, I know who you're talking about. It's on the tip of
George
my tongue. I
Gervin's in
can't.
the movie, so it just
Got you.
I just feel like they pulled from so many different places to give the Marty Supreme life. So I think that this may be because a lot of them are not known actors. Like obviously the Iceman, George Gervin being in the movie, who would think to cast the Iceman? I just, it's amazing. I think that this is a callback on Marty Supreme that the director has to his love of basketball, because as we all remember, the Adam Sandler movie with Kevin Garnett, he also directed that movie, and they're very similar movies. So um, for them to cast George Gerving was just amazing, and it's not even George Gerving like I knew it was George Gerving. Teresa didn't know it was George Gerving. We were sitting there watching it. She was just like, she was totally in it. He seemed like he would be the type of person to be in Marty Supreme's life, helping Marty Supreme. And he was like, it was so cool. So I think it may be the Marty Supreme on this one. You're muted. You're muted. You're muted, bro. We can't hear you, Brandon.
Realized I was muted. Okay, there we go. Sorry
There
about
we
that,
go.
folks.
There we go.
But I mean, again, considering the overwhelming momentum that we've seen with this film, and rightfully so, it's so hard to be able to pinpoint all of the incredible performances that we have, because many of all the actors that are a part of that ensemble, bring something unique to that film. And of course, I'm talking about Sinners. So I do see Francine Maisler taking the Oscar for this said film. Um, I really can't see anyone else in this category that would win here. Considering what we have seen, as I said, thus far in the award season, with the individual performances that have been recognized, and then also previously with the ensemble overall being recognized. So she is my pick to take the Oscar. Now, getting into, we said we're only going to do a few more. We'll get into directing and film editing before we move on. Or I tell you what, we'll do directing and best picture. How about that? Because I do want to get into those, and I don't want to skip over best picture. Since this isn't a show dedicated specifically to the Oscars, I wanted to be able to talk about a couple of the awards here. So let's do directing first, and then we will get into best picture. So let me share that again. All right, so for nominees that we have for directing, we have Chloe Zhao for Hamnet. We have Josh Zafty for Marty Supreme. Paul Thomas Anderson, of course, for One Battle After Another. Joaquin Trier for Sentimental Value, and Ryan Coogler for Sinners. In looking at this category, Spills, I'll punt it over to you. Who do you have, taking home the Oscar for Best Directing?
Of course, I'm going with my brother, Ryan Coogler. Like I just, the way that they I feel like Sinners was one of the few movies that we could actually have conversations about. You could actually have different points of view on things. Um, I feel like it's just a movie that we really need to have. And he really had the conversations that we try to have when we go to the movies, and it was very thought provoking. So I really think Ryan Coogler, he's really been on a tear. He's becoming one of the new standards for Black film directing. He and Jordan Peele, I would say, of the last 10 years, are the biggest two Black directors that we've seen. So to me, it's Ryan Coogler. How do you feel?
I would say the same. I would say also, I mean, not just as a filmmaker in telling stories about people of color, but I would just say just a filmmaker, in general, of what he's been able to accomplish and thus far in his career, and the stories that he's been able to tell. thus far, in his filmography. So I do have Ron Coogler, winning in this category. Uh, I would say that they're prior to kind of like the landslide momentum that Sinners seems to be on all the way up to this show. There was a time there where we, did see some love for One Battle After Another, and it's a terrific film also. Um, I would say in this case, I do see Ron Coogler winning. However, I do have Thomas Anderson as a dark horse in this category, even though I feel like it's pretty much a given that Coogler is going to take home the Oscar. Stranger things have happened where prior to the Oscars, when someone is like just on a tear in terms of their momentum, that leading all the way up to the Oscars, they're grabbing every single award, and then by the time they get to the Oscars, we still see some surprises there, and then also a lot of times too when we have some incredible work, whether we're talking about on the performance end or behind the camera or any of our other respective categories in terms of filmmaking disciplines. A lot of times they will split it when it's kind of hard to really determine who's going to win in that said category. So um, I will find it interesting to see if we have the same winner in directing as well as for our best picture category. So I match you there in terms of saying Coogler will take home the Oscars. However, I will say that I wouldn't be surprised, just as a dark horse, that Mr. Anderson might take home the Oscar.
My
Um,
dark horse may be the Marty Supreme guy. No, I've talked about the Marty Supreme since I saw it last Christmas season.
okay.
It's just the movie's frenetic pace. It's like drinking not even a Red Bull. Have you ever had one of those nitros or like a pre-workout energy drink? That's what the movie feels like. It's such a frenetic pace, and that's all in the director. That's not, Timothy Chalamet is great, but he didn't set the pace of everything. How the movie just builds and builds and builds and builds, and just it seems like one calamity after another. It's almost like Ferris Bueller's Day Out in a way, like where it's just like, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god. It's just constantly things happening. So they may win for that reason, but I don't think. But and they don't like giving us our due when we try to be telling our stories at the Oscars. So I think that because they don't be liking us telling our stories, they're gonna be like, let's give it to this guy for this category.
Okay. Oh, as I would say, and when we're talking about this category, Ron is Mr. Coogler is an incredible artist. So like what he was able to accomplish with that said with Sinners, with that said story, um, and I'm just thinking of some of the elements that you have there thematically that we have throughout that said film. It's an incredible achievement what he was able to accomplish with that film. Don't get me wrong, One Battle After Another, and many of these nominees, incredible efforts as directors, but I'm sorry, I can't see anyone else grabbing the Oscar other than Ryan, just based on the incredible achievement that he was able to give us with Sinners. Um, as I said, Anderson can be a slight dark horse in the wings, but yeah, I feel like this is Coogler's award to win. Um, Now getting into, let's see here, I want to get to best film real quick before we move on here because we do have, as I said, we have a couple of other stories to be able to dive into, and this is just our first. So, in talking about Best Picture, the nominees that we have for Best Picture, we have Begania, F1, Frankenstein, Hamnet, Marty Supreme, One Battle After Another, The Secret Agent, Sentimental Values, Sinners, and Train Dreams. So, your thoughts, sir, on who is going to take home the Oscar for Best Picture?
I think it's Sinners all the way, ladies and gentlemen. They may try to pull some sneaky tricks and give it to Marty Supreme, but I think it's Sinners all the way.
Okay, so it sounds like you're saying that you have Marty Supreme as your dark horse, huh?
Marty
Potentially.
Supreme is the dark horse, but I think that him saying that nobody likes the opera and ballet have torpedoed anybody who would have voted for them. Um, which seems silly, but people be caring about what people care about, and the people that be voting on the Oscars like to go to the ballet and to the opera. So that's where I think it's standing. I don't know where you are with yours.
Um, I mean, as I said, I feel like barring a couple of categories, most of these categories I feel are going to be a landslide when we're talking about Sinners. So like in this category, I feel similar to the way that I feel about the Best Director category, where I have Sinners winning, but I wouldn't be surprised again in this case if you have someone that ekes out or sneaks a win here for Best Picture. So the dark horse that I have is actually the same film in this scenario with One Battle After Another. Enjoyed that film, a great deal. But as I said, when we're just talking about the what we have on display visually, what you have to kind of sink your teeth into in terms of the dialogue that we have in that said film. I can't see anything getting past the team for Sinners winning in this category for Best Picture. Um, so that is going to wrap up just a brief picks that we have. As I said, there are going to be a couple other films that I'm going to check out between now and the start of the show. I know there are a couple of shorts that I did want to check out, so I wanted to be able to at least do the categories for films that I would be able to speak to. But outside of that, I wanted to be transparent in the films that I hadn't seen. So we didn't go over every single one, but let us know your thoughts for those said categories. And then, of course, if you see this before the airing of the Oscars, let us know, your thoughts as well, because we'd be curious to see if you guys end up being correct in your said theories or picks for the Oscars. So, but with that, we are going to switch gears from our film and TV talk, and we're going to move on to, let's see, our some streaming news. Actually, before we get to some streaming news, we want to get into some birthdays. So let me bring that up now.
Let's get into this birthday, y'all. Happy birthday. Happy birthday
So
to
much
you.
enthusiasm, but yeah,
Happy
as I said, moving
birthday.
on to our
Happy
birthday.
birthday.
Moving into our
Happy.
birthday shout outs this week.
Yeah.
Um,
A
we
new
move
segment, ladies and gentlemen. Brand new segment.
we move into wishing Steph Curry a happy birthday. This happened. Uh, this happened on the 14th, so yesterday. The four-time NBA champ, two-time MVP, 12-time All-Star, and NBA's Finals MVP. As of right now, at the age of 38. So again, like as I said, happy birthday. Is averaging just under 27 points a game and sits as the all-time leader in three-pointers made. Spills, your thoughts? I think I have an idea because you seem to be so enthused about wishing um, LeBron's kryptonite a happy birthday.
I wonder, did he get a birthday gift this year? Because it looked like things weren't going so well in the Curry household at the beginning of the year.
Yeah.
I think that it's just a good, sure. Happy birthday, Steph. I hope that you get what you want for your birthday this year. I hope that we stop hearing about so many other things about your life because some of the things we've been hearing are not good. This is finally my chance to talk about those things because we're not talking about basketball because this has nothing to do with basketball, ladies and gentlemen. Um, why your wife acting so crazy on the internet, Steph? What happened? What you doing?
Oh wow, we getting messy on here. Okay,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah, I'm gonna get messy because you gave me the chance to be messy because this has nothing to do with the podcast. This is not pop culture news. This is trivia. What day is Steph Curry born? Boo. But happy birthday, Steph. I hope you got some free pizza because your birthday is Pi Day. I didn't know that your birthday was Pi Day.
Right.
Maybe you got some rhubarb. Maybe you got a slice of rhubarb. That would be interesting as well. But
Indeed.
I know this is your guy. So, ladies and gentlemen, let's let Brandon get his off. Go ahead, Brandon. Tell us about Steph Curry, the GOAT. Yeah, tell us about him.
So first off, let me correct you. I know you said that Steph is the GOAT for me. We've had this conversation many times that Michael Jordan will and always will be the GOAT for me.
We ain't had no birthday
And
for Michael on the 17th of February. I know what Michael's birthday is.
hey, we missed it, man. We missed it. I'm sorry. But yes, MJ is my GOAT. No matter how how tight I am with the Warriors and the Warriors being my team and Steph, being my guy. And as I say, I joke about this all the time. As much as I still, call Steph LeBron's kryptonite, because if we're looking at the record there between those two said players and their record against one another uh, in the finals is pretty one-sided. But be that as it may, if we're just talking about individuals, I still have LeBron ahead of Steph Curry, just based on his body of work and everything that he has accomplished in his career, the consistency that you have there in that career. So I can objectively say, Spills, that LeBron again is my number 2 player of all time, but you can't deny the fact that he doesn't have the best record against Mr. Curry when it comes to those championships.
Once he moved out west, he didn't have that same problem with him. After y'all got rid of that tall kid y'all was playing with, we seem to be pretty good with y'all. We beat y'all all the time now. So to me, that was a Cleveland LeBron issue. He ain't played for that team for like 8 years. It's been a very long time since he played for Cleveland. So congratulations, I guess.
You see how he's trying to switch history, folks?
That's the
Because every
second
time
best.
we on the
That's the
show,
second best team in California, ladies and gentlemen. Second best team in
every time we
California.
on the show, he always talks about, and I'll give props are due of them coming back 3-1 that one year. I mean, I'll
That's the
give props
greatest finals
are
of
due.
all times. That's the
I
greatest
give
finals of all
props are due.
times.
I didn't see that coming. But again, when we're talking about the overall record, when it's all said and done, it's pretty lopsided one way.
You only including the finals though, because now that he's moved in the West, y'all come. We've had these shows. You've been talking. We gonna see y'all next round, and then we don't see y'all.
We gonna see y'all next round.
Yeah, we don't see y'all. Where's all the Steph stuff? There's none of this stuff. We don't see that no more. So, yeah, I haven't seen him ever do that against the Lakers. I seen him do it to the Cavs, but not to the Lakers. So, congratulations to Steph. Happy birthday, 38. He seems younger. It's crazy that he's 38.
Yeah.
It's crazy he still got 27. So, I'm not going to be a hater right there, but it's pretty impressive.
Okay. All right. Fair enough. I think that's the most objective I've heard you be, Spills, when it comes to Steph Curry. But I appreciate the small objectivity there. Really do. But switching gears, and then let us know your thoughts, guys. Perhaps what's your favorite Steph Curry moment that you have from his career? As I said, greatest shooter of all time. When we're talking about him being, the best all-time leader when it comes to three-pointers. Just incredible in terms of what he's been able to accomplish, in his career, and how he has changed the way basketball has played because of his style of play. But be that as it may, we're going to switch gears to the world of streaming with our stream and chill segment. And this happened on Friday in a story from Variety. It was shared that Paramount Sundance would be shutting down streamer BET Plus and would also be acquiring media mogul and multi-hyphenate Tyler Perry's minority ownership stake in BET Plus, a stake which saw Perry hold a 25% stake in BET Plus as a result of a 2019 production deal that he had with Paramount. As it stands now, terms of that transaction are not being disclosed. So, Spills, your thoughts on this turn of events for BT Plus and what we're seeing happen there?
So, in other shock things that have happened on the show, I'm amazed that somebody bought Paramount and then closed down the black channel of streaming. That is crazy. I couldn't have seen that coming at all. I couldn't have predicted that. We could have not put our eyes into that they would shut down something that Tyler Perry majority owned. I wouldn't have been able to see that. That's incredible.
I mean, minority owned. I got you. Yeah,
I'm sorry,
minority owned.
minority, but he's the name that is attached that has a name.
Yeah.
So for him to be in that position, I'm not surprised at all that they closed it down. It's crazy that they're closing down streaming things. It seems like a great way to print money. Why would you
No, I hear you.
shut down a method of streaming?
I
Sure,
got you.
it's probably just Baby Boy on there, but because I don't watch BET Plus, and I know you don't, but that's not surprising.
I mean, on occasion, perhaps I do. I'm not like the biggest Tyler Perry fan. I mean, there have been films that I've seen here and there, uh, but I know there are folks that watch every single film that he produces. I've maybe seen a handful of them, um, but just bigger picture wise in terms of, and as I said, we don't talk a whole bunch of politics here on Movers and Shakers, but it's undeniable to have an instance like this where you have someone who has um a pocket of influence when it comes to the stories that are told on BT Plus by being a minority, having a minority stake in the said with the said brand that produces so much of these stories, black stories of people of color, and it's it's going to be weird going forward, or I should say not weird, but just interesting to see what we're going to get in terms of those said stories now that uh, uh, Perry, who does a great deal of stories that talk about being a person of color, whether you enjoy those films or not, however way you may feel on it, they are still at the end of the day stories that are talking about the black experience, whether you feel that they are very extreme or not extreme at all, wherever side of the fence you fall on. Still, it will be interesting to see when the fact that we have him being bought out of having that capability and that influence to be able to ensure that those that stories about the black experience and about persons of color are being told, um, and if the stories that we get now might be, somewhat more questionable based on who we have now taking over BT Plus. Who knows? We'll see if there is a significant change in the stories there, but I can't see how it's not going to change, and I can't not to be negative, I can't see how it's going to change for the better. If anything, I feel that there's a likelihood that it could get worse in terms of those said stories that are, are made for BET. But only time will tell. Let us know your thoughts out there. You know, what do you think of Paramount? Um, Paramount Skydance buying out the minority stake that Tyler Perry has with BT Plus, and then also the fact that they are shutting it down for the sake of, what we already know is happening here with what Paramount is doing with its acquisitions. And I know things are still in the process of moving forward with Warner Brothers from stories that have been released thus far. Right now, it's kind of in a contentious place because from what I understand, the meeting that Paramount had with Warner Brothers um, didn't go the best. So I'll try to give you guys an update regarding that matter and kind of the status of where things stand between Paramount and Warner Brothers. But at least where it stands with BT and BT Plus, it is an interesting thing that we're seeing happening here, where that major entity of Paramount is consuming BT and the it's yet to be seen what the repercussions of that are. As I said, I don't know if the consequences or the results are going to be the best, but we will see. Um, with that, we're going to move out of our stream and chill segment and get into talking a little bit of sports. So, when talking about our sports cooler talk, I know just a moment ago we were talking about Steph Curry and his birthday, but we had some other, incredible things that happened this past said week, and that said thing happened on Tuesday, where history was made in a game with the Wizards. Who knew that you would have something historic happening with the Wizards? But be that as it may, on Tuesday, history was made in a game, as I said, with the Wizards, as Heat forward Bam Adebayo scored 83 points against the Wizards, placing him second all time on the most points scored in a game list, just behind Wilt Chamberlain at 100 and just ahead of Kobe at 81. So, Spills, your thoughts on history being set by Bam?
I feel like this is a confirmation not only of Bam's talents, but how dog tired the Washington Wizards are. I'm really sick of teams um, tanking, and this is the biggest tank job of all history. For them to be to a lot, like I talked to my Wizards friends, they was like, "Oh, he was shooting a lot of free throws. He shot a lot of free throws." He had 70 before they started shooting them stupid free throws. He was destroying them. For somebody
Yeah,
like Bam, his previous high score was 41. To go up to 83 is crazy. He had 31 in the first quarter.
yeah,
Um, he was just, and it wasn't like, we talk about foul merchants in the NBA all the time. He was
yeah,
not foul merchanting. They was fouling that man, and they could not stop him, and they kept putting him on the line. He kept hitting it from the charity stripe. This is real basketball. I've seen a lot of takes from people. I've been waiting all week to talk about this because I feel like this is my platform to talk about things that I see on the internet. And you know, I feel like the people that are saying that's not real basketball, if they wasn't fouling him, he wouldn't be scoring these free throws. He'd be scoring them a different way. It would just be dunks because that's what he was doing. He was dunking on them all day. I'm sure somewhere Jalen Rose is smiling that we can stop making fun of him, but this is just
no, we
crazy.
still gonna make fun of him, man.
We still gonna make fun of him
Nah,
because obviously it's the Mamba. But my brother tried to call me and say, "Oh, you mad because Kobe's record got broken?" And I said it wasn't a record. It wasn't a record. The record is 100. No one's going to get 100. I've seen people say that the 100 was possible after seeing how they was fouling at the end of this game for him to get up there, but I don't know. How do you feel about the 83? It's pretty crazy.
I'll say this. Let me see if I can bring up the actual stat sheet because I know you were talking about it just a moment ago. Let's see if we can get this up here first. And I'll try to see if I can expand it here, give you the actual breakdown of the number of attempts as well as free throws made. So 36 free throws that are made. Let me see if I can get this up for you. I have it up right here. But yeah, 36 free throws that were made. 20 out of 43 field goals that were made. So I know a lot of times, people have been talking about the number of attempts of, he got 43 shots. But again, just as you mentioned, if you have a team that is willing to give you 43 shots and you have a certain momentum that you have going into this game of scoring 30 plus points in the first quarter, if the opportunity is there to make history, you're going to go after history. I mean,
Mhm.
coach as well, when we're talking about the Miami Heat. Help me out here for the Miami Heat. It's right on the tip of my tongue.
Eric Spoelstra.
Spoelstra, yeah. So, I know there have been some criticism with Spoelstra about the strategies that were used to provide Bam the opportunity to score the 83 points. But again, when we're talking about the Wizards, I know you were saying that they were tanking, but when are they not tanking? I
When
can't think
are
of
they
a time.
not tanking? Exactly.
I can't think of a time which seems kind of weird to say that I can't think of a time when they are at a point where they are trying not to tank. But if you're using that strategy, you would think that there's a point to that strategy, right? To actually draft and get players that can allow you to turn your franchise around. And yet we continue, this franchise continues in that pattern of tanking, quote unquote, to get high draft picks, but have the draft picks the last couple of years honestly amounted to a lot. I mean, you could probably count a handful of players that have been effective for us, but consistently is few and far in between. And so when we're talking about trying to break down the validity of the 83 points that Bam has scored, I feel like we just need to give the guys flowers. Don't get me wrong. I still don't believe Bam is at the, at the level of Kobe Bryant. Rest in peace. Late Kobe Bryant or Michael Jordan or LeBron James. Even if I don't feel that way, he
He
scored 83
outscored them.
points.
He outscored them.
But I'm saying he
He
scored
outscored
83
them.
points. He scored 83 points. It is what it is. He's still a good player, but he scored 83 points. Whether you want to say he scored it on the Wizards, I mean, that's another conversation. But again, 83 points is 83 points. And for those that, want to talk about the 81 that Kobe, scored, I still have that performance up there because when we're talking about the difference with, the Toronto Raptors versus the Washington Wizards, the Toronto Raptors, in terms of their defense, that was a whole different animal when we're talking about, what they were capable of defensively versus what the Wizards are capable of defensively. But again, as I said, if that's the momentum that he was on and that was the trajectory that he's on, and that you're close to making history, I mean, it is what it is. Can't get mad at it. I'll say just give the guy his flowers, and now it will, which is what we've seen. The thing that I like a lot of times, and unexpected kind of consequence or result, I should say, of instances like this that we have with players making history with their scoring efforts is that we get other efforts from other players and inspiring other players to actually start with milestones or continue with milestones that they have, or even scoring efforts that they have. Because I will say this, and I don't really,
Were you going to say
talk
that
about
the Wizards played the Lakers on the 30th, and Luca has a chance to try to beat this record in a few weeks?
that's what I was saying. I mean, that's a good point. I'm glad you brought that up. But I was going to bring up Luca actually, in the fact that he's been on a tear offensively. We know that he's not the best. Obviously, that is his Achilles heel, his defense. But um, we can be honest, and I don't know if you want to be objective with that. It seemed like there was a slight, a slight pocket there of games where he seemed to be struggling, in terms of his offense and being, efficient. Because one thing that I will give a credit to Luka for is his efficiency and being able to score. And there have been a couple of games that I had watched prior to, maybe the last couple of games that he seemed to be kind of in a rut. And I feel like with instances like this, last couple of games that he's had incredible games, uh crazy, what, 30, 40 point,
He had a 50, 10, and 9 game just the other game.
right, double
50,
doubles and
10,
triple
and
doubles,
9.
like
Yeah, that's
crazy double
crazy.
double
And
and
he
triple
could have had the triple
triple
double,
doubles.
but he just left out the game. He could have had the triple
Yeah,
double. So
yeah. And then even with SGA, of setting the record that he had with consecutive games scoring 20 plus points. Like, the thing is, we're still seeing awesomeness with other players, and I feel like when we have instances of this, it kind of, however way you may feel about his the manner in which he got the 83 points, it's going to inspire and evoke, a competitiveness among his peers to, do the same thing, and to have incredible, scoring nights. So I don't know how you feel about that.
yeah, I feel the same. I put this here for a reason, ladies and gentlemen. You see that? You've just
Let
activated
me
my
see if I
trap
let me
card.
see if I get that up there. Go ahead.
You just activated my trap card. That's right. The third place is okay with me. The Lakers moved into third place last night with a daring win over the Denver Nuggets. So I'm happy to see the Nuggets lost, and Joker was on the sidelines cussing at people. He said, "I'm supposed to be the Laker destroyer." Yeah, he was pointing at people. He said, "You're going to be a horse. You're going to be a horse." So I was excited to see all that. But yeah, I think that you're right. A couple years ago when we had all them 70-point games, it
I
seemed to
know,
inspire
right?
people to be
And
like,
it
"I'm gonna
seemed
one
like
up
everybody was
myself."
trying to one up each other in terms of, oh, you going to
Yeah,
drop 70? I'm going to drop 70 tonight. I'm going to drop 50
yeah,
tonight.
yeah. So
So
I'm interested to see what this brings, especially at this time of year when people are trying to make it to the playoffs. The Lakers are playoff secured. I don't know what the Warriors are doing. They're celebrating birthdays, but we'll see. We will see if they can make the playoffs. But the playoffs are just around the corner.
wow, you see how he had to sneak in a little dig there at the Warriors, y'all.
Always,
Even even
always, ladies and
even
gentlemen.
though even though we know that the Lakers aren't going to the finals, or even the Western Conference Finals for that matter,
Oh no, we could
we're,
possibly go to the Western Conference Finals. I don't think we could beat the Spurs, but I think we could beat the Thunder. I think we could beat the Thunder.
we'll have to revisit this for sure. For
Yes,
sure,
for
for
sure.
sure. But uh, that's what we have with our sports and cooler talk. What are your thoughts again on Bam scoring the second most points in a single game all time? Do you feel like it is a a valid 83? Or do you feel otherwise? I know for myself, as I said, I want to give Bam his flowers, regardless of the circumstances that you have. With that said game, 83 points is 83 points.
Oh, also, I
Um,
forgot to say this. I forgot to say this. This is very tongue in cheek. They called
okay,
it a bubble chip, but LeBron won a chip against the second highest scoring player in history.
okay, fair enough, fair enough. Fair enough.
Second
But
highest scoring player of all time, ladies and gentlemen. LeBron beat him. That's right. And he had his squad with him.
got you. But now we're going to get into our main topic story, which you can see here in the background. We always do our main topic as our as the cover for our said episode each week for this week in pop culture. And this week, that is none other than the 2026 edition of AwesomeCon, which you see here. Now, getting into some background about AwesomeCon, it's happening this weekend, and it's commencing at the Walter E. Washington Convention Center. Created back in 2013, AwesomeCon is Washington, D.C.'s premier pop culture convention. Action-packed, star-studded bonanza that attracts more than 60,000 fans to celebrate their favorite comics, movies, TV shows, books, toys, games, cosplay, and more. Now, when we're talking about this said show, I've been fortunate enough to see the growth of this said show since its inception and how it's grown over the years. Because as I just mentioned in the intro, it was started in 2013. I remember, for those of you that were also there that first year, that it was just in the coat room of the convention center in the main building, but now it extends across both buildings that we have with the convention center. So um, quite a few things that happened, this past said week. It was great. Whenever you go to a convention, one of the pluses is being able to see familiar faces, and I was able to see quite a few of those, whether they are familiar faces on the guest end, whether they're familiar faces with other fellow journalists. Was great to see, and then just other friends also who are just going as fans. So um, that component of AwesomeCon for sure is still here. There were a couple of interviews that were able to be conducted, so be on the lookout for those because I'll be posting those after the fact. I didn't do them. I know a lot of times I do them as live streams, but this go around, they will be taped and posted after the fact. Um, and let me see what else. One thing that I will say that has been fascinating, and um, I feel like it is a let's see, it is a it's the result, I feel, of the current day and age that we live in. I know, Spills, you were talking about it just briefly, but I feel like it is a symptom of a larger issue that we have going on in our world today, is just how expensive things are. I know they're just regular pastimes that can be quite expensive. I was talking to some friends and talking about how I remember how going to the movie theater was a pretty casual pastime, but now that a lot of those theaters are trying to compete with one another with having all of these premium services and that they provide, whether it's in the seating that they have, whether it's with the type of concessions that they provide, that they have made movie theaters a pretty expensive, endeavor. Even when we're talking about everyday tasks, right? Everyday tasks that you have, whether it's filling your car with gas. Gas is particularly expensive. The same goes for going in the grocery store. Things that otherwise you're accustomed to having at one price are now, in many cases, twice cost twice as much as what you're normally accustomed to. And I feel like that trickles down to our pastimes. Just mentioned movie theaters, where that was a casual one. That was a quote unquote an affordable pastime that you could do to enjoy uh, going to see a film for 90 minutes or 2 hours, whatever the case may be. But I feel like it's also trickled over to other pastimes as well, even with convention going. So while there were people, definitely people here at AwesomeCon this year, it wasn't nearly as busy as I would have, anticipated. And I mean, I know for me, I mean that's fun because like it's cool not to be shoulder to shoulder, but on the other end, in terms of sustainability, I'll just be curious how things look going forward in the years to come, maybe in the next couple of years, to see if maybe this was just uh, a aberration that we had, with our Friday and our Saturday, or if it's a preview of how things will continue going forward. Because I know even with, I don't know if the fact that we had fewer people might be due to the cost, because maybe when we're talking about the cost of, or the implied cost that, or balance that you can kind of amass when you're going to a con, factored into the amount of people, or the fewer people that we saw this year. But I will definitely be fascinated to see going forward if that's going to be a continued trend. But Spills, I'll punt it over to you. I know you were with me at BlurCon um, last week, but did you have any questions, since you're coming to us virtually? Any questions about this year's show, or yeah, any components of it?
So I've attended Awesome Con before, in the past for this program. Um, I would wonder, do you feel like the events of the last few weeks have really hindered it, or do you feel like it's just that steady incline of like the inflation and all these other things that seem to be constantly just tearing away at our wallets?
I'm glad you brought up that question, because outside of the fact of costs, because I know a lot of people want to say, well, there are anticipated costs that you're going to have with the con, but when other things that you don't anticipate being really expensive are expensive. I only gave a couple examples of us talking about everyday things that people need, gas for their car, if they drive, or what is it, groceries, just the bare essentials that you need from the grocery store. um, I do feel like the cost factors into that, because even outside of buying, tickets for the show, um, there are other costs that you have tacked onto that are not factored into what you pay for your ticket just to get in, because you're going to be paying an extra fee on top of that to perhaps get a selfie. There's going to be another fee on top of that to perhaps get a signature, whether it's for 8x10s, photos of those said actors that they may have at their tables, or if it's for memorabilia that you want to have signed, that you yourself bring. So and that fluctuates. It's not like a standard fee. It fluctuates based on the guests that you're trying to get those said things from, which has always been the case. But as I said, like, with what we have with everyday expenses that have gone up, I feel like it bleeds over into this show. And then also, kind of to your point too, we're at a time where we have the most cons that I feel like we've ever had. It seems like there's a con almost every week, arguably. And I remember a time when that wasn't the case, where maybe we only had like a couple of cons, if that, per month, and that was enough. Like that was enough to have just that number of cons in a given month. But now,
Hmm.
like, there seems to be an inundation of cons that are around every single week. And I think you still, okay, here we go. I think that can exhaust the the willingness of people to go to a show, and then it can financially exhaust them of deciding which one not to go to. And it may not necessarily be because they don't want to, but they just can't afford to, because they just went to a show last week. I
Right.
mean, we had let's see, BlurCon last week, and we have AwesomeCon this week. And those are, I mean, to have both of those shows back to back,
And not
I'm
to
sure for
mention the cosplay. You can't be bringing your cosplay from BlurredCon to AwesomeCon. You can't use that content. So you got to have costumes for all that stuff.
and I mean, yeah, that's a practical thing too. For those that do cosplay consistently across every single show, that may be another challenge too. Of okay, what am I gonna, a stress? If it can provide another stressor of like, what am I gonna cosplay as? Because I don't want to repeat what I did at the other show. And when we're talking about like the and I'll give a shout out to you guys, our professional cosplayers that they go to cons as guests, or even folks that just are very detailed and dedicated in the construction of their cosplay. They spend months on a given cosplay, and if you are, you know, in most cases, you would have that time between cons to be able to have the next cosplay ready. But if it's only a week away from that said show that you just cosplay at, and you're planning on doing a brand new cosplay, that may be a tricky proposition to have. So that's another good point too. So I mean, just the logistical things. If we're talking about the cosplay component, when we're talking about the financial things with the paying for the show, and then the other additional costs that can amass once you are going to certain parts or participating in certain parts of the show. It can start getting pretty costly, especially when you're talking about a family doing that and not just an individual, because you're multiplying that times three, you're multiplying that times four. Um, so as I said, I would be fascinated to see how things look going forward in the next I would say 2 to 3 years, to see if this is a continued trend, or as I said, if this was just an aberration based on things that just have been the norm recently in the last year or so.
Indeed.
But
I think that, AwesomeCon, this is a great 13th year for them. They survived the pandemic and all of the other cuts that seem to have come through this world. So, congratulations to the promoters and all the people that contributed to make this a successful AwesomeCon. It seems like you've got a lot of traffic there. How's the traffic otherwise? You said it wasn't as big, but you did say that it was
I
good
mean, as I
traffic.
said, there's still people here. There are a lot of people here, and it was busy. I could see a difference in the amount of people between Saturday and Friday, but still, even with the amount of people that are here, um, it still felt like there were fewer people here. I know one thing that was brought up as another potential reason as to why it seemed like there were fewer people was how the exhibit hall was set up, the way that it was structured in terms of the how tables were positioned among the various vendors. It made it so there were pockets of open space, and maybe that visually made it seem like it was fewer people, because in the past, in terms of how things were situated in terms of the different vendor tables, they were very they were those areas, or the way that they were placed, were the spaces were narrower to walk. So by default of having narrower spaces to walk, it's going to you know have uh, make it seem as if more people are there. I think that was one argument that one person that I know had made, is the way the tables were set up, caused it to look like it was fewer people. But I still feel like it was fewer people than what we've had before. So, and then lastly, before I go, I think another thing that has been a frustration. And I don't know if you have folks with OSCON that would be able to comment or speak to this, but um, I had gone with some friends. One of the friends wanted to get a signature, and so I sat or stood in line with her while she was waiting to get her signature, and the way that they had it. Typically, when you go to a show, it's not unheard of to have a regular line and a VIP line. But a lot of times, what'll happen is what I've seen, which seems to be a very efficient way to go about it, is you would kind of alternate. You have one person from the VIP line go, and then you have one person from the regular line, one person from the VIP line, one person from the regular line, and there were cases there with some of the lines where it seemed like they were allowing the VIP line to clear before they opened it up to the regular line, and I feel like that caused it caused some confusion, but it also caused some frustration among those that were waiting in line. Because I mean, listen, I get it that you're paying. You have folks that pay extra money for the VIP spots, and it allows certain perks to do so. But you also have those who are waiting in the regular line, and they're patiently waiting, not only through people that are in front of them, but also through a whole other line, and it may not be their fault as to why they don't have a VIP pass versus a regular pass. So it may simply come down to that. Yeah, you're right.
That's
It
what
may
hey,
simply just come down to that. And
it's something
so
about
you don't want to
talks and
you don't want to
walks.
right, but I'm just saying you don't want to alienate those folks for still coming to the show just because they're not paying an extra couple $100 for a VIP pass. So I think that was one thing that I do recall was a pressure point or a frustration that I observed and that I witnessed was what you had there with VIPs in the regular line. So, but otherwise, as I said, it's always great to come to the show because it's always great to be able to say that you have a con in your city. I remember a time where that wasn't the case when we didn't have a DC con, and the only con that you could go to, or the closest one, was Baltimore. I mean, shout out to Ben Penrod, the creator of Awesome Con. He still runs Annapolis Comic Con, which is a smaller show, and then Southern Maryland. He runs others, of course, but prior to Awesome Con coming around, in terms of what we had here in the area, we had Baltimore, as I said, but we also had those smaller shows as well with Southern Maryland and Annapolis. But yeah. Very, very fascinating to see, as I said, what way things will look going forward. But that is going to do it for this edition of This Week in Pop Culture. I want to punt it over to Spills first. Spills, can you tell folks where they can find you?
All right, ladies and gentlemen, you can find me at Truly Spill on Instagram.com. We can have conversations about, why Steph Curry's birthday really isn't that great of a day, but we can have all kinds of conversations.
Here we go.
And don't forget to follow us and share with your friends.
For sure. So I'm your host, Brandon Choi, co-creator of Movies and Shakers Unlimited. You can find me at Brandon Choi ENT on X and Brandon Choi _ENT. Talking about how LeBron may in fact be the number 2 player, but he still can't seem to get over the hump when it comes to Steph Curry. I'll talk about that all day. But all jokes aside, thank you guys so much for watching. Be safe out there, and see y'all soon.